The wind whispered through the evergreens, gentle but constant, like a lullaby hummed from a distance. Snowflakes drifted in lazy spirals beneath a pearl-gray sky, each one catching a bit of the fading daylight, as if the stars themselves had begun to fall. The forest was quiet, save for the soft, rhythmic crunch of boots pressing into freshly fallen snow. He walked alone at first, Eli, his coat pulled tight and scarf wrapped high against his cheeks, the edges frosted with his breath. Every step he took left behind a crisp imprint, deep enough that you could follow them even after a small flurry. His hands were tucked into wool-lined gloves, holding a lantern whose flickering flame painted warm golden halos onto the surrounding trees. It was the kind of light that didn't banish darkness, but softened it, made it kinder. Ahead, nestled in a clearing like a secret, sat a cabin low-roofed, smoke curling from the stone chimney, its windows glowing with the amber promise of warmth. Eli hadn't been there in almost 5 years, not since the last snowfall of that winter, when everything had fallen apart. And now someone had called him back. He remembered the letter found in a drawer that morning, though he could have sworn it wasn't there the night before. The paper was brittle and folded neatly, the handwriting unmistakably hers. If you're reading this, I'm already gone, but I need you to come back just once. Follow the snowy trail. You'll understand. Lena. He hadn't spoken her name aloud in years. Couldn't. It had felt like breathing underwater, sharp and cold and full of ache. But now every tree he passed, every hush of wind through snow-laden branches whispered Lena back to him. She had loved this place more than anything. It had been their haven, a hideaway built with bare hands and whispered dreams by the fire. It was where they had kissed for the first time, curled beneath a blanket as snow tapped gently against the windows. Where they'd promised forever, back when the world still seemed like it could keep promises. He stepped onto the creaking porch and hesitated, hand hovering over the old iron handle. Then, slowly, he pushed the door open. The heat hit him first, soft, smoky, with the scent of cedarwood and something sweet like cinnamon. The fire crackled in the stone hearth, casting long shadows across the familiar room. Nothing had changed. The knitted throw she made still draped the couch. The bookshelves filled with her dog-eared favorites. The kitchen table where they had once played cards late into snowy nights. A pot of tea, warm and steaming, sat on the counter. And there, by the fire, her journal. Les heart stuttered. He moved toward it slowly, knees almost trembling. He opened the worn leather cover. Inside was a single line written not in the past tense, but the present. You're not alone, Eli. You never were. And then footsteps behind him. He turned. Lena stood in the doorway. Not older, not faded. Just her. Soft eyes, that familiar half-smile she wore when she knew something he didn't. You came, she said, voice quiet as snow falling. I don't how. She walked to him, fingertips brushing his like snowflakes melting on skin. I left, but not in the way you think. Eli didn't understand, not fully, but he didn't step back. Couldn't. The ache in his chest he'd been carrying for 5 years softened, shifted. She reached up and touched his cheek. Warmth bloomed there, real and full. I had to go back then, she said, but I've always been trying to get back to you. The fire crackled behind them, a soft, steady heart. Outside, the snow continued to fall, silent and beautiful. And then, as suddenly as she'd appeared, she was gone. I stood in the stillness. The journal was closed again, but now another line sat beneath the first. Love is never lost. It waits quietly like snow. A single tear slipped down his cheek. He didn't wipe it away. He stayed there through the night, wrapped in the quiet magic of memory and mystery, of grief slowly turning into something else. Hope, maybe, a promise rekindled. In the morning, when the sun broke through the clouds and scattered diamonds across the snowy trail, he stepped outside and looked back only once. The cabin was there, just as it had been, but the fire was out, the journal gone. He smiled, and as his boots crunched fresh snow once more, Eli didn't walk away from something. He walked toward it. The light filtered through the trees in pale beams, soft and golden, as though the forest itself had exhaled overnight. Snow clung delicately to the pine branches undisturbed. Eli moved forward without urgency, each step a quiet echo beneath him. The trail twisted deeper into the woods, but he wasn't afraid. Not anymore. There was something guiding him now, not a voice exactly, but a sense, like the feeling you get when someone you love is just about to walk through the door. He passed the old wooden signpost half buried in snow. Whistler's Ridge, 2 miles. They used to hike up there every December, Lena and him, even when the wind cut sharp and the sky hung heavy with snow. She always brought that ridiculous red thermos with the chipped lead, filled to the brim with honey-sweet tea. He remembered the way she'd pretend it was magical, like it could grant wishes if you held it just right. He caught the faintest sound, bells, no, chimes, the kind she used to hang from the porch rafters, glass and copper and bits of colored stone. But there were no houses here, nothing nearby, just the trees, tall and watchful, and the hush of untouched snow. Still, he followed it. The trail grew narrower, winding between trees older than memory, their bark dark and furrowed like they'd been carved by time itself. A small bridge appeared ahead, half covered by snow, spanning a stream so still it seemed frozen in time. But as he stepped onto the wood, he heard it, a soft gurgle beneath, water running, alive, hidden beneath the surface. Like her. On the other side, something shimmered in the air, not a mirage, not light. It was more like a feeling you could see. The forest here felt different, warmer, somehow, despite the cold, like stepping into a memory that hadn't happened yet. A cabin stood just ahead, tucked between 2 towering cedars, not the one from before. This was new, or maybe old in a different way. The door was slightly ajar. He stepped inside. It was dim, but the air held the scent of something familiar: cedar, orange peel, a trace of clove. The fire was already lit. It cast its glow over a round rug, a small table, 2 chairs. One was pulled out, facing him. A journal sat waiting there, just like before. This time, the cover was different. Deep navy leather, etched with constellations. He opened it. "Welcome to the in-between, love." His breath caught. "You're not dreaming, but you're not quite awake either. That place you're in, it's the seam between worlds, where time folds and memories hold weight. Some souls pass through, some stay to find what they lost." He turned the page. Her handwriting danced across the lines. "You always believed in what you could see. I always believed in what I could feel. And now you're starting to feel it too, aren't you? The pull, the warmth that doesn't come from fire." The shadows flickered along the walls. Outside, wind whispered again through the trees, gentler than before. A small wooden box sat beside the journal. He opened it. Inside lay the red thermos. The chipped lid was exactly as he remembered. He lifted it slowly, and the scent hit him: first honey, black tea, a hint of lemon, still warm. His hands trembled slightly as he held it. He didn't question anymore. Not the place, not the impossible, not even the ache that still pressed softly behind his ribs, because something had changed. There was no longer a hollow absence, just the sense that she was near, not as a ghost, but as something fuller. Maybe time here didn't follow rules. Maybe grief, when held gently enough, opened doorways. The fire crackled, a comforting heartbeat. Outside, the snowfall thickened, the world wrapped in a hush so complete it felt sacred. He sat down in the chair across from hers. It was warm, like someone had just left it. He set the thermos down between them and waited. He didn't need to sleep. He didn't need to move. The stillness was enough, because something told him she was coming. And this time she wouldn't be a memory. Not here. Not yet. The flames danced lazily in the hearth, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers across the walls. Outside, the wind picked up again, but it wasn't harsh. It was the kind of wind that wrapped itself around you like a soft blanket, soothing and familiar. The forest murmured in response, the snow continuing its slow descent, one flake at a time, as if the world itself was trying to cradle him in its quiet. Ely took a slow breath, the warmth of the fire mingling with the lingering scent of tea from the thermos. He hadn't realized how cold he had been until the heat of the cabin began to sink into his bones, but that was the least of it now. He turned his gaze back to the journal, its leather cover cool under his fingers. Each page he turned felt like stepping deeper into a dream, one where time didn't quite behave, where space bent to a different rhythm. Lena's words continued to pull him in. This place is both a beginning and an ending, Eli. There are doors here you don't see, paths you can't yet find. But if you wait long enough, you might catch a glimpse of what you're looking for. He hesitated. The feeling was getting stronger now, this pull, this presence that wasn't just her memory, but something more, something that wrapped itself around his chest like a forgotten song. He wasn't sure if it was the warmth of the fire or something else entirely, but his heart began to race just slightly. A sense of anticipation lingered in the air, hanging in the space between the soft crackle of the fire and the deep silence of the snow-covered world outside. Then a sound. It was soft, almost imperceptible at first. The faintest tap, like the echo of a footstep from the farthest corner of the room. Eli's pulse quickened. He looked up, his breath catching in his throat. For a long moment, nothing moved. The cabin was still too still, but the feeling remained thick and undeniable, as though something was about to happen. He stood slowly, the journal still open in his hand, the pages swaying lightly as if the wind had stirred them. He moved toward the doorway, the lantern casting shadows that stretched ahead of him as he crossed the room. Another tap, louder this time, and then her voice, soft, familiar, like a whisper carried on the wind. Lay. His heart stuttered in his chest. He wasn't sure if he had imagined it, if the isolation was finally playing tricks on him. But the voice, he knew that voice. It was hers, Lena's. Lena. His own voice cracked, thin and uncertain, as if the words had been buried deep within him for too long. The cabin held its breath. The air grew thick, and for the briefest moment, Ele was frozen in the space between reality and something else, something just beyond the edge of his perception. Then a shadow moved at the corner of his vision, and his heart leaped. There, just beyond the doorway, framed by the soft glow of the lantern light, stood a figure. tall and slender, with long dark hair that cascaded like a waterfall of ink. Her silhouette was familiar, so achingly familiar. It was her, Lena. But something was different. Her eyes, those eyes that had always been filled with a quiet wisdom, a playful spark, were darker now, deeper, like she was carrying something heavier than he could comprehend. She was no longer just the girl he had loved. She was something more, something tied to this place, to the snow, to the fire. "You found me," she said softly, her voice both soothing and trembling with something unsaid. Illy stepped forward, heart in his throat. "Lena, I don't know what's happening. How are you here? How is this possible?" She held up a hand, and he paused, the heat of the fire behind him flickering in her gaze. "It's not the how that matters, it's the why." The air seemed to grow even colder, the quiet outside growing more profound, as if the world itself was listening to them. "I don't understand," he murmured, his voice catching. "You left. You—" "I didn't leave," she interrupted, her tone gentle but firm. "Not in the way you think. I was pulled away by something older than us, something tied to this place." And I blinked, the confusion clouding his mind even more. Pulled away, but then why come back now? Why send me that letter? Lena's gaze softened and she stepped closer, her movements slow, deliberate. She reached out, fingertips brushing against his, the touch warm despite the chill that still lingered in the room. "I never really left you, Eli, not in the way you think, but I had to find a way to bring you here, to show you this place, this moment. Because there are pieces of us, pieces of you that you haven't yet seen." He shook his head, his mind a whirlwind. "I don't understand. What pieces? What are you talking about?" She smiled, but it was bittersweet, as though she knew something he didn't and couldn't yet. "This place isn't just a cabin, Eli. It's a bridge, a crossing between the living and the lost, between the forgotten and the remembered, and it's been waiting for you." Before he could respond, the sound of the wind outside changed, shifting into something else. Not a howl, not a gust, but a whisper, a voice. "Eli, it's time." Lena's expression tightened, and she turned to the door, her hand slipping from his. "You have to go now. It's calling to you. The trail, it leads somewhere." A lump formed in his throat. "Where?" She didn't answer at first. Instead, she glanced over her shoulder, her eyes sad and full of something that felt like love and loss woven together. "To where you've always belonged, Eli," she whispered, "and where you'll always be." Then, before he could stop her, Lena stepped into the cold night, vanishing into the swirling snowstorm. The door swung closed softly behind her, leaving Ellie standing in the quiet cabin. The fire crackled, a lonely reminder of the warmth that had just left. And as he stood there, his heart pounding, he realized that what she had given him was not just a journey, but a choice. Would he follow her? Would he walk the snowy trail again? Or would he remain rooted in the comfort of what he knew, the quiet that now seemed unbearably still? I reached for the door, and he stepped outside. The wind greeted him like a long-lost friend, cool and crisp, but with a weight to it now, as though it held the secrets of everything that had come before. The snow was falling in heavier, more deliberate flakes now, blanketing the world in a heavy, silent shroud. The forest stood still, the trees like sentinels, waiting for something. He didn't look back at the cabin. He didn't need to. It had given him everything it could: answers, a bridge between worlds, and Lena's love that had never truly left him. It was time to move forward, to face the path that lay ahead. The snowy trail stretched out before him, winding through the trees, the footprints of his past slowly fading behind him. He could feel the pull of it like a magnetic force urging him on. The crunch of his boots in the snow was the only sound, each step steady, though his heart raced in his chest. He wasn't sure where this trail would lead him, whether it was the end of a journey or the beginning of something else. But the feeling that had settled in his chest was different now. It wasn't a question of if he was ready, but when. And as he moved deeper into the forest, the whispering wind shifted again, carrying a new sound, something softer, more familiar. Lena's voice, not distant now, but close, as though she were walking beside him. "You've always known how to find me." He closed his eyes for a moment, the weight of her words settling deep within him. She had been right. He had always known. The snow thickened as the forest closed in around him, but instead of the isolation he had once feared, he felt connected. The trees weren't just trees. The snow wasn't just falling from the sky. It was all part of something larger, something timeless. Every step he took felt like a step back toward himself, a version of himself he had almost forgotten, buried beneath years of grief, of longing, of what-ifs. But now it was as if he was shedding that skin, becoming something new, something whole. The trail led him to a clearing where the full moon hung low in the sky, casting a silver glow across the landscape. The snow glistened beneath the moonlight, so bright that it felt like the world had been dipped in starlight. In the center of the clearing stood a single tree, an ancient oak, its branches bare but strong, a place of solitude and yet a place of quiet strength. Eli stopped. His breath came in soft puffs, hanging in the air. He felt something shift, like the last piece of a puzzle falling into place. From the edge of the clearing, Lena appeared. She wasn't a ghost, not a shadow of what had been. She was whole, standing in the moonlight with the same warmth, the same tenderness he had loved all those years ago. Her smile was soft, but there was a strength in her eyes now, something that told him she had always known what was coming, what he would need to understand. "You found me," she whispered, her voice like a prayer. "I never left," he replied, his voice steady now, filled with a certainty that surprised him. "I just had to remember." Lena stepped toward him, her silhouette bathed in silver. She held out her hand, and Eli took it, his fingers curling around hers with a warmth that wasn't of this world, but of something deeper, something eternal. The connection between them was undeniable now, not bound by time or space, but by something more profound, something that neither distance nor death could sever. Together they stood in the clearing, their hands intertwined, the snow falling softly around them. The world was quiet, suspended in this moment. The fire within the cabin still burned, and the echoes of their love seemed to reverberate through the trees, the earth, the stars. Eli felt no need for answers anymore. He understood now. Life was never a straight line, never a singular journey. It was a dance between moments, between souls that crossed paths, whether in this life or the next. And in this moment, with Lena's hand in his, he realized that love wasn't something that could be lost or forgotten. It was a force, a thread that wove through time, a promise that no matter where you went, it would always find its way back.